Hey guys, I wanted to make a video about consumption and what we consume and how we consume and how I believe it does affect our energy. I'm someone that I'm always shifting and trying new things and willing to change on things and change my opinion on things. And definitely with consumption, I did used to I went through a phase where I thought, no, I don't want to bypass things by only, watching certain things or listening to certain things. I'm sure that's not how we're meant to be as spiritual beings. I'm sure we're meant to be able to engage and participate in this world and everything and not hide away from it. And I definitely did that for a while. But I just think my energy has suffered from it, if I'm honest. I really love that feeling, as we all do, anyone that's been in it, where you just feel that bliss, that joy, that radiance within. People see it in you. You glow, your eyes glow, your skin glows. I've got pictures going back years ago and I just have a glow. My whole face just, it's got like light. And I haven't had this for years. And I did used to go in and out, don't get me wrong. I used to get really, really triggered and upset. And then, I would feel that real glow up and I would feel radiant. And you can just lie there or just be at home and you just feel the most amazing bliss and radiance. And yeah, I didn't manage to sustain it, but I did get into it multiple times, fairly frequently. And then I found after 2016, I didn't really get into it as much. And then I did get into it right at the very beginning of our first lockdown. And then for quite a while, actually, it was one of my longest sustained periods. And it did come just from back to things I've said in other videos recently that I've been observing. It did come from being in a real state of surrender. I remember I had a massive void just before we went into lockdown. So I had like my own lockdown prior to lockdown because I actually did more of a lockdown because I just did it off my own back. I just really felt to be alone. And I literally did nothing. I just sat in my room for about a month and something just shifted. And I went into the most amazing state of, it was just like incredible. And life is just magic when you're in that state. You don't need or want for anything, but everything just flows in and you can just sit there and you just, feel amazing. I will say that the first lockdown was a lot better for us though, because I'm in the UK, and for anyone that's not in the UK, the winter ones are really awful because at least in the summer and the spring, you can go outside, you can go in nature, you can enjoy those elements, right? But in winter, nothing was open and it's dark, it's cold, it gets dark at like 3 p.m. And I'm telling you, you want to go to venues. You do not want to go out in nature. You do not want to go outside, God damn it. So it's very, very miserable when nowhere is open and there's nothing on. I can assure you that it's like a lot better to have these lockdowns, I believe, in hot countries where at least you can go sit on the beach, you can go chill out, you can go hide in a wood, I don't know, whatever you want to do. But you do not want to do this in November in a cold country when there's no venues open. But anyway, enough of my rant and my moaning. But I've just been looking at the way I consume now versus when I was in those states, and I can't lie, it's different. I was very high raw vegan. I'm still high raw vegan now, actually, but I do know that I was, for the first several years of my awakening, I was really, really, almost 100% raw vegan. And now I would say I'm 70%. I definitely allow a few more things. I mean, still to your average person, I'm like crazy healthy, but in myself, I know I've changed. I'm not making sure I have my nutrients either, my superfoods like my flax and my chia. I was so regimented and religious on this stuff. And I'm not like that anymore quite as much, but just with daily practice too. And I'm not saying that we have to meditate or do yoga. I think there's so many ways we can get into our heart and connect to ourselves and connect to our inner self. And I just think we need to make space to do that. And however you make space, but if we're filling our time up being on this and watching stuff, we're not making space. At least that's my experience, to go within. And for me, that is where I suck. And I know this. I really suck at finding discipline to do these things from home, to do yoga or meditation and just really get up and in the morning just go and do that. I can get myself to the gym, I can eat super healthy, but when it comes to really just sitting and tuning into myself, I find it a lot easier to go somewhere. But I would love to, increase my discipline myself. That would be amazing. But, back in the day, I was doing multiple spiritual classes every week. I was doing many things as my whole life was filled with that. And I think more recently I've been going back to a bit more regular things. Part of it is because I see through so much of the sort of spiritual ego programs now that it's hard to take events and workshops as seriously. Plus I've seen it all, and that's the same with YouTube. It's why I've gone back to watching things like true crime and court cases and documentaries on serial killers, and rubbish TV, not TV, because I don't have a TV, but YouTube. It's because I see through so much of the sort of spiritual ego programs now. Not that I'm saying I don't have them, but I see through them that it makes some things more difficult to take seriously. And I've also just watched everything. Like, trust me, once you've spent 5 years of watching so much spiritual content, everything is the same. Yes, it's told in a slightly different way. There's a slightly different message, but it is the same. And there's only so much of the same things you can watch. And I think that's why I ended up going back to more real things recently. But I just have noticed a decline in my energy from doing that. Also the news, I didn't used to watch it. I've not had a television for over 20 years. I don't read newspapers. Do you know what? It was such a running joke because I didn't know anything that was going on in the world, that my family actually used to text me to tell me if there was a shortage of petrol or just anything going on in the world, because everybody knew I wouldn't have a clue what was going on in the world. I had no clue. I lived in this little bubble. But that was shattered since 2017 because I don't remember this happening prior to this. You would go meet people and you would just, I don't know, talk about what you were doing. It wasn't really dominated by current affairs, and people could just laugh at themselves. And, I don't know, everything is so serious these days, and everything, current affairs comes up and it always ends up in, some negative, like interaction around it. And certainly online and over lockdown, we've been so forced online for our communication and connection that I feel it's affected how we speak, because in person everyone is very lovely, and then online you just have people screaming, and if you have a different opinion to them, everything gets really aggressive, then you defend yourself. And I guess we've just been I've been drawn more into current affairs. I've also gotten wound up in conspiracy theories because I didn't want to have the vaccine. It's drawn me in, I end up wanting to know what's going on. Whereas before I didn't care what was going on in the world. I didn't give it 2 seconds thought, but now I'm having to look, can I go to this country? Can I travel here? are we going to have green passes? And I feel like I'm defending myself all the time and defending my right not to have it. I know that's passed now, although there's still issues with America, but I know that has passed now. But it's what drew me back in, because I felt like I had to actually keep up for the news for the first time in my whole life. And then I got involved in the conspiracy theory circle, and I find that quite low vibrational because yes, I see it. Yes, there's truth in it. And I can get really swept up in it sometimes. But actually, on the higher level, source, this is we're all part of source, and it's not like source doesn't make a mistake like that. It's not like there's a mistake happening. There's a greater plan, and this is just playing out, and yes, we probably do have some free will of how long it's going to last or how it's going to go. But I don't think that, I think we can get lost in this circus down here rather than see from the higher perspective that actually everything's fine. Everything is still going to work out exactly as it's meant to. This is just part of the plan. It's part of the process. But yeah, just all these consumption things. And, like I said, I think it's okay just to watch, listen to a couple of pop songs, watch a couple of trashy shows, watch a murder mystery, watch a horror film. But I think there's a tipping point, and when we do too much of that, it's like we lose our heart center, and we're just consuming too much negative stuff, and we can't shift through it, because I just feel heavy, and a lot of my friends have felt the same. You know, a lot of my friends feel the same energy. It's like we just feel that heaviness, we don't feel that heart-centeredness, we don't feel that lightness, that glow. And I do put it down, you know, when I think about it, I put it down to feeling in those states generally comes from non-attachment, surrender, and when I'm consuming really positive things, like, you know, the more spiritual music, the higher vibrational content on YouTube, the staying away from social consciousness arguments on Facebook, which is really difficult for me. I love debating, like, I love it. I grew up with debating. That's what my family do, you know. Like, debating is something that I just really enjoy, but everything gets very aggressive these days, and then you defend back and they defend back, and it's very easy to get into that pattern. And although I do enjoy it, you don't really walk away feeling like, wow, that was fulfilling, or wow, I feel so in my heart center now. And I think all these things do matter. I think all the consumption and all the things we take in, it's like a critical mass. I think it does matter. And I think one of the biggest things is just connecting your energy to other people. And I feel like going forwards, I'm going to care less about what the workshop actually is or what the gathering actually is. And even if there is some, you know, even if I can't really take it seriously, like, as long as we're coming together and there's a like-minded group of people and we're sharing our energy and we're helping to, you know, connect with one another and raise that frequency, then I think it's worth it, actually. And yeah, I'm definitely going to start being a lot more mindful. I realize I've just let things just run wild recently, and it's really affected me for the negative. And I really need to, like, tighten the reins a little bit about making sure that I'm consuming things that are gonna help my frequency and gonna help me stay in my heart center, and not the opposite. So that's kind of where I'm at, really, with things at the moment, because I just really want that heart-centered feeling back. And I am also definitely feeling like I get that from surrender as well. And it's worth more to me than manifesting anything or having any material object. You know, actually, my energy in some respects is better than it's ever been now. I don't really get triggered in relationship dynamics. I feel like I've really healed all my, like, runner chaser stuff. I'm so balanced in that perspective. I'm not saying I don't ever get triggered. I absolutely do. But not really in that relationship dynamic. I don't have that strong push-pull thing anymore. So that has been like a big win over the last few years. But I somehow have lost my heart-centered connection and my joy, and I do think it's because my critical mass of consumption is not high frequency. I haven't been treating my body, I guess. You know, I haven't been feeding it with the things that it needs to feel open and heart-centered and magical and blissful. And that is my my belated New Year's, well, I think New Year, they say New Year is actually in spring, so that's going to be my spring New Year discipline that I'm going to be trying to work with going forwards, actually. But what do you guys all think? Because I definitely did for a bit think, you know, no, this is bypassing, you know, I'm here on earth, I need to partake in everything, and, you know, I don't think we should just only just float around with spiritual things. But I realized that when I was naturally doing that, because that's where my biggest interest was, that I was way more in that heart-centered space, and just everything was just much more magical and flowing in my life. But yeah, what do you guys think? There were so many comments on my other videos. I was amazed. I've never had that many comments. So maybe I'll get some on this one too, if it's not too long and waffly. I re-recorded this video 3 times because I keep running out of space, even though it's a brand new phone, because I just record so much, and it just kept cutting out on me. And when I do that, I end up then not knowing what I said in which video, and it gets really confusing to record. But yeah, I hope this wasn't too waffly. But yeah, it was just some insights that I've been really realizing recently is perhaps why, or maybe just it's a global thing and we all going through a big clearing or whatever. But what's everyone else's energy like right now? Do you all feel like you've lost your heart center and you glow, or do you feel like you're better than ever and you've actually just kept growing? Yeah, let me know.